The Las Vegas Raiders have one of the best off seasons, arguably in franchise history. But even then, they still have a few more needs that they have to address in the upcoming 2026 NFL draft. And today, I got two different prospects that I think the Las Vegas Raiders should target in day 2 of the NFL draft. Man, let's not waste any time. Before we get started, if you're new to this channel, if you love talking football like I love talking football, man, go ahead and subscribe. If you like the content, then like the content. And if you got something you want to get off your chest, then go ahead and drop a comment, man. Let's do it. First up, we got Chris Johnson, cornerback out of San Diego State University, standing at 6 feet tall, weighing 195 pounds, and just recently ran a 4.440. Chris Johnson, he's kind of known amongst Raider fans. I think football fans, period, man. He's been balling. He's been balling for some years now. You know, this isn't Chris Johnson isn't a 1 year thing. You know what I mean? He ain't. He's not. You know, this isn't some hype going into the draft, man. He's been consistent, and that's what I really like about him, man. Um, let's talk about some strengths, right? Strengths that I've seen with Chris Johnson. Very patient. He has great footwork, has great ball skills, um, great tackler. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to lower his shoulder. You know what I mean? Great play recognition, and that goes in. You know, play recognition goes into football IQ. You know, it goes into instinct. So I think that when it comes to playing football, his strengths would be zone coverage and soft man, right? Now, his strengths when it comes to the mental aspect of football, it caters to zone, right? So what I seen, they played a lot of cover 2, right? Where, you know, the two deep safeties, they have, you know, deep quarters, and then your outside corners, they'll play the flats. You're on a 10-yard cushion, right? And so that gives Chris Johnson the ability to sit and read, right? Read, sit, read, react, or anticipate and then react. It caters to his instincts, it caters to his football IQ, it caters to play recognition. One thing that I realized right when I was younger, when I moved to strong safety and I played back in a two deep set, being able to see the field, it gives you a different perspective, right? Okay, I played linebacker in Pop Warner. Boom, I got to high school. Now I'm too undersized to play linebacker, so I go to strong safety. But if you're at linebacker, you're so close to the line of scrimmage that you can't see everything, right? You could see what's in front of you. You could see the linemen and how the linemen move and how they're running and all that. But it's different when you're at something like safety, right? Now, granted, he plays corner, but just hear me out. When I moved back to strong safety and I got to see everything, it's sort of like, I don't know if you guys seen like a video of where they'll have X's and O's, and then they'll most likely show an offensive play, and then you'll just see dots like moving, right, to show how the play develops. Standing back and being able to see everything, being able to see the whole offense move within their play structure, that's exactly what it looks like. You know what I mean? And I played corner too. I played outside corner too. It's the same thing, right? Now, if you're in the cover 2, right, and you're staying in the flat, you're on a 10-yard cushion, and you're pretty much facing the quarterback at 45-degree angle from the line of scrimmage. You can sit and watch, and you can. It's from a different angle. Obviously, it's from the side, but you can still see everything, right? And if you're somebody that's very good at processing, if you're somebody that has a high football IQ, somebody that has great instincts, somebody that has great play recognition, that caters to your strengths. You know what I mean? And that's what I noticed when I watched the film on Chris Johnson. Great in zone coverage, right? And man, soft man, it's kind of the same thing. If you're at a cushion, having that time to backpedal, when he's in a soft man and he's backpedaling, even then, that gives him a little bit more time to just process what's going on. You know what I mean? And then if it gets too deep into the route, boom, he has fluid hips to be able to transition, turn, and run with the wide receiver. You know what I mean? So when I watch tape on Chris Johnson, that's what I seen, right? Somebody that's instinctive, smart, plays well in zone. I I did see I did see a couple things that, and granted, I mean nobody's perfect, right? So I didn't expect to like turn on the tape and be like, yeah, he's gonna be flawless. But something that he could work on, it has to do in press, right? Now, let me just say this, right? Like I said, he uses a lot of different techniques, which I love, right? Now, this is an example. In press coverage, I've seen him do a motor technique. In press coverage, I've seen him jam somebody, like stand your ground at the line of scrimmage and jam like you're supposed to play cover one. You know what I mean? And then I've also seen him just turn and run. You know, those are three different techniques that I've seen him use on tape just in man coverage, right? In press coverage. That's something that's kind of like okay, it's relatable to a pass rusher, right? If you have an edge rusher that's rushing the passer and you're going against an offensive tackle all game, you don't want to do the same technique, right? Because the offensive tackle is going to know. He's going to be like, oh man, I got something for that. If you're going to do that every single play, I got something for you. And then you're never going to win. You know what I mean? But when you're able to make adjustments in your technique, so then he doesn't, the receiver doesn't know what you're doing, the quarterback doesn't know what you keep them guessing. That just adds another element to your game, right? And that's what he does, which I just had to point that out. You know what I mean? So now Chris Johnson, he what he does is he has a habit of mirroring every single movement that the receiver does in press. I know that that's mostly coaching, but it doesn't mean that it's good, right? When you mirror every single movement that the receiver does, you open up the possibility of creating vulnerabilities, right? Now, as a receiver, if I'm coming off the line and I feint to the outside, knowing damn well I got an inside route, I'm doing that so that you mirror my movement, and then I got an open lane to the outside, right? Like I said in the previous video, receivers want space. You know what I mean? They don't want to have contact constantly throughout the route. So when they do all that little bullshit moves, they know damn well that the defender is gonna do everything that they do. And when you do that, you're looking for an opening. 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 So if that's what the receiver does, as a defender, you don't want to do that, right? You want to be more patient, right? You don't want to sit there and copy every little thing, right? Because it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to create a vulnerability, right? And as a defender, you want to limit your vulnerabilities, right? You want to be patient. You want to stay in the best position possible, and just defend. That's it, right? He has great instincts, so you got to be able to use that in press coverage and not react to everything, but just anticipate, right? Now, also by doing that, he ends up putting himself in a bad position in press, and so when it's time to open up, his hips aren't so fluid, right? When he's in soft man and there's a cushion in between and he's able to process, he's able to think, he puts himself in a way better position to where when it is time to open up, when it is time to turn your hips, it's more fluid, right? The transition is more fluid, it's more easier. But when you're impressed and you do all these little things that put you in a bad position, when it comes time to open up, your hips aren't as fluid. That's just something I would want him to practice, to develop in. We're gonna keep it moving, man. Number two, man, my second prospect and it is another corner. So, second prospect, man, I got D'Angelo Pons. Outside corner, Indiana Hoosiers, man, standing at 5'9", weighing 185 pounds, man. And we just gonna nip this in the butt right now, right? There is no height requirement to play outside corner. I promise you. All right, I will not steer you wrong. There is no height requirement. Now, this goes for every position. Now, I'm not saying put a fucking 6 foot, 250 pound guy at offensive tackle. Like that's not what I'm saying, right? Being 5'9" and playing outside corner is not unheard of. You know what I mean? People are just scared to do it. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody that's 5'9" could play corner. That's not, you know what I mean? It comes down to the skill set. It comes down to the technique. It comes down to fucking football IQ, play recognition, instincts, all of that. You know what I mean? It's not just, oh, he's 5'9", he could play. I'm not gonna disregard somebody because they're 5'9". That's the thing, right? And let's just, like I said, we're gonna nip it in the butt right now. This is the thing with specifically D'Angelo Pons. The narrative with corners being 5'9" and playing on the outside, it's two main things, right? Number one is physicality. Number two is 50-50 balls, right? If you're going up against a receiver, a big body receiver, how you gonna go up there and get it, right? If he's 6'4", whatever, you know what I mean? Those are the two arguments. All right, so check this out. Physicality is not an issue. We could just already scratch that off. I think we could all agree, universal agreement, that D'Angelo Pons plays physical enough to play on the outside, right? Great run defender. Even in coverage, he's physical, right? That's not really an issue. So let's just move on, right? 50-50 jump balls. Let me explain this to you, right? A DB's vertical can always make up for lack of height, okay? Now, right here, I got, it says that the average height of a wide receiver in the NFL is 6'1" to 6'2". Now, D'Angelo Pons is 5'9", right? So the difference between 5'9" and 6'2" is 5-inch difference between D'Angelo Pons and the average wide receiver in the NFL. Now, when we talk about jump balls, you got to add vertical, right? As you can see right here, the average vertical for a wide receiver in the NFL is 38 inches. At the NFL Combine, D'Angelo Pons tested 43.5-inch vertical. 43.5 inches jump in the vertical, bro. Okay, so let's talk about that. What's the difference between 38 and 43 and a half? The difference in verticals cancels out the difference in height. Not only that, it's a half an inch more because of the vertical. You know what I mean? So the argument that people have is irrelevant at this point. You know what I mean? It may apply to somebody else, but we're not talking about somebody else. We're talking about D'Angelo Pons. All right. So now I didn't. I'm not saying that he can't play on the inside. What I'm saying is that he could play on the inside and the outside. You know what I mean? D'Angelo Pons is very similar to Chris Johnson. Everything that I just said for Chris Johnson applies for D'Angelo Pons. Like this is crazy, right? D'Angelo Pons, of course, like I just stated, the run game, he's very physical. He's not scared to tackle, bro. He's proven that over and over and over again, right? And I could even argue if people want, if a lot of people that say, oh, well, moving to the inside, bro. If you're on the inside, you're closer to the box. You're closer to the linebackers, to the linemen, right? If the linemen clear away and the running back hits a hole, that's a one-on-one that you have to go head up with a running back. You know what I mean? It's very different to go head up with a running back than it is to catch a running back going sideways. You know what I mean? Very different. Very different. Very different. But anyways, he plays the run, okay? D'Angelo Pons, the way he plays football, it's like he makes the least amount of mistakes in order to keep himself in the best position possible. And that's the best thing that a corner could ever do. Okay, check this one out, right? I wanted to point something out. In this play against Denzel Boston is one of the best wide receivers in this class. I have him as number two. Yes, number two. I believe he's 6'4", somewhere around there. Big body receiver, right? Now look, on this play, Denzel Boston takes an outside release, right? And it's kind of wide, right? But out the gate, boom, he explodes off the line of scrimmage. So that's telling me no hesitation, boom. It's like it's a deep route, sort of like a go route, but he kind of fades out, right? He's trying to get in better position by going a little bit wide. D'Angelo Pons is manages to keep good positioning, right? Good leverage, and he keeps good leverage by staying on top of the route, right? Now, obviously he notices that it's a deep route, so he's playing it as a deep route, right? And he's able to stay on top. Now, this is what I mean by good leverage. A lot of coaches, even if you go like on TikTok or whatever, right? These internet coaches, a lot of them try to teach you in these types of situations to play the back shoulder and play the route, right? Which you can't do, right? You can't play the deep route, but then also play the back shoulder. You have to choose, right? And in this specific play, D'Angelo Pons chose the best way possible, right? By staying on top of the route. Now, by doing this, he can play the deep route, which you don't want to give up the deep ball. So he took that away immediately. Now, if something else happened, right? Let's say they did throw the back shoulder. He's maintaining great leverage on the deep ball, but he's if the back shoulder was thrown, you could easily plant your foot, boom, and then cut up field because it's easier to come back to the line of scrimmage, right? If you're running a route, it's easy to plant your foot and come back more than it is if you're guarding the back shoulder than to increase speed, at the split of a second when the ball's thrown and then play the deep ball, right? Because the ball could be thrown way ahead of you. You're not going to get there in time, right? So he's maintaining great leverage on top of the route the right way that you're supposed to do it, right? Not under the route to try to play both. You can't do that. You got to play one or the other. And if you play the back shoulder, you're going to lose, period. This, all of this right here gives him the ability to be consistent on the outside, maintains leverage, maintains great positioning, physical at the catch point, right? You add in his vertical. D'Angelo Pons, if D'Angelo Pons was even if he was 6 foot flat, he'd probably be the number one corner in this draft class. Hands down, bro. Hands down. I can't really I can't really find a lot of weaknesses in his game. Everything that I've seen with Chris Johnson, I've seen with Pons. Like they're very similar, but is I think Pons is better. I think Pons is better in man for sure. I think Pons is better in man than Johnson, but Chris Johnson is slightly better in zone, but fairly similar. They win with leverage. They win with body positioning. They win with instincts. They're the same player, just different heights, right? Both great in the run game, and you could probably get both of them in the third round, right? Depending on how it shakes. Um, that's it, man. Two prospects, day two, much needed position. That's gonna do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you were able to gain some perspective in some way, shape, or form. This is the Antisocial Raider. If you love football like I love football, man, go ahead and subscribe. If you like the content, then like the content. And if you got something you want to get off your chest, then drop a comment. Yeah.